Welcome to Mad About Money. I'm Maddy Alexander-Grout, and this is the podcast where we talk to lovely people about their interesting money stories. I'm here with James Hutchison, who is a personal stylist who helps people to look and feel better. He's a colour expert, and we're going to talk a bit about vintage today, which I'm quite excited about because we love the secondhand thrifting here on this show. So, James, would you like to introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about you?
Hi, Maddy's audience. I am James Hutchison. I am a personal stylist and colour expert. What that means in reality is that I help people to look and feel the very best versions of themselves by using colour and style. I've been doing that for a few years, and it absolutely is food for my soul. So that's a little
Amazing. I
bit
mean,
about
it
me.
it just so happens that I today am very rainbow. Like I'm always rainbow. In fact, rainbow is my thing because I think my ADHD brain goes, I don't want to wear one color. I want to wear all of the colors. So I just do. But I've never had my colors done actually, and I feel like maybe I should. I think
Everybody absolutely should, and that's not a sales pitch. It's just a
no,
thing.
no.
Um,
I think it's good to feel confident. Like I think my colors vary depending on what color my hair is because my hair. I mean, you can't see it today because it's greasy and gross, and I haven't washed it today. Again, a weird ADHD thing where I'm like, I need to have a shower. I need to do the school run, and I have to do both of those things in 5 minutes. Yeah,
yeah,
fuck it. I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna go, and I'll do it later.
the ADHD
But
ponytail. Yeah.
that's basically what it is. It's the ADHD bun. And I think like if men had some men have longer hair, they get to have an ADHD bun. But I feel like that's what mine is because it's
It's
yeah.
the male version is the ADHD neck beard.
Yes. I feel like it is.
I
And
need
I'm.
to
Do
have
you
a
know what?
shave.
I'm yeah. I'm proud of it. So
But the thing I would say to that is about kind of getting your colours done and just in general when it comes
yeah.
to stuff like that is that it is such we are so emotionally tied to colour. Human beings are so emotionally tied to colour, and getting your colours done, which you absolutely should do, is such a great way of using colour in your kind of day-to-day life to make yourself feel more confident, more enthusiastic, more awake, and as well as all the other benefits, like kind of like looking better and people thinking you look amazing and all that.
Yeah.
From a kind of purely kind of psychologically medicinal perspective, knowing your colors and wearing your colors is such a fantastic thing.
And I can
Genuinely.
imagine it would actually help you with money as well. Because if you think about like going into a sales pitch to pitch for business or going to pitch to an investor, for example, if I guess from a psychological point of view, they would see certain people as more confident and, potentially more worthy of money or business if they were
I'm
wearing the right colors.
going to make a statement which is going to blow your mind. Only
Okay.
7% of any communication between two people is verbal.
Ooh.
7%. The other 93% is body language, tone of voice, and confidence in how those people look. And the thing that I say to clients, I work with quite a lot of clients who go on stage. So they're either speakers or they do TEDx talks or they do podcasts or they work on TV or that kind of thing. And those clients that I work with, the thing that you get across to them is very much that the first conversation you have with the person you're speaking to is had way before you open your mouth. It's the moment the
Yeah.
camera turns on or the moment the curtains open is the first conversation you're having, and it
Oh,
sets up the entire rest of that conversation and probably all the other conversations you're ever going to have with that person or that viewer or that potential client, just purely based on that first perception of you. And so much of that is about how confident you look and what you're wearing.
that's so interesting, isn't it? Like, so when you first met me this morning, you were like, greasy ADHD bun, wears too many colors.
Not at all. No, not at all. Because it's not like that. And I know that sounds really. I know that sounds. I know you're kind of joking about it, but it's kind of not like that because what it's about is it's about just a perception that someone gives across. So you come across just because of your demeanor and everything about you is like friendly and positive and enthusiastic. However, there are opportunities for people to manipulate's the wrong word, to guide that perception through what they wear and how they wear it, and to
Mm.
guide people away from negative perceptions by moving away from colors that maybe make them look a bit paler or a bit kind of dark under the eyes or whatever. And by doing that, like I call what I do a non-surgical facelift a lot of the time, because just by changing the colors that you wear against your face, you absolutely can change how young you look, how healthy you look, all of that stuff.
Ooh,
Like literally, it's have you ever had a thing where you've gone out and everybody you've met that day has told you how well you look?
yes,
Everybody you've told is like, oh my god, you look so well today. Oh, you look fantastic. Oh, you look blooming. Oh, you know,
yes.
right? There's a really good chance that the reason for that is that the color that you were wearing is one that is a tone or a shade that absolutely works with your skin tone, and everything all works together, and it creates this kind of combined look of wellness and happiness and contentment. It's that powerful. Genuinely, color is that powerful.
That's so interesting. I'm actually genuinely fascinated by this because I think yes, there are times where
Very cool.
like where I get like, God, you don't look 40, and then I'll say to somebody I'm 40, and they'll be like, yeah, silence,
Well, a
silence.
great example of that is that I'm wearing navy today, right? Because I never wear black. It's just a color that doesn't work on me. It drains me. It makes me look gaunt. It makes me look tired. And
Okay.
if I see myself or you see me in black, you would think, oh wow, you don't look very well today. However, just changing that black for navy, which is a slightly warmer version, and this is quite a warm navy, basically just makes a massive difference. And then when I go into
Yeah.
warm colors, it's the way of kind of doing a color analysis is to put colors against people's faces. And when you actually see people see themselves in those colors, it's like, I mean, because you actually can tell. At half the time, I don't even need to tell the person that that's a color that they should be wearing, because they look at themselves and they smile, and you just go,
Mm.
if that's the reaction that you have looking at yourself in the color, what reaction do you think other people have? It is, it's the fundamental building block of all things style is color. And people either overlook it because they're more interested in the fashion aspect of things, or they deal with color in a much more commercial way, like what's available, what can I get, other than seeking out colors that suit them. So yeah.
That's and I'd never really thought about the fact that people who are doing TEDx's and people who are on TV and actually thought that deeply about what they wear.
You can tell the ones who don't, and I can tell the ones that don't. I watch TV, and when you watch TV, and it's quite interesting because it's a topic of conversation in my house. That when you put the TV on, and you put on, particularly the news is a great example of that. And you put the news on, and my wife kind of looks at me and kind of goes, "Ooh," and I go, "I know." And it's the thing that the reason that I started working with a couple of people in TV is because I just kind of tweeted them and kind of went, can I help? And
Ooh,
and yeah, it worked out that actually it's happened. But the whole point is that it's such a powerful thing. Just in making you look and feel your very best version of yourself. Because remember, we're not competing against everyone else, right?
no,
It's not about winning the kind of race of life isn't about winning it against other people. It's about winning it against yourself. So if today, and this is like, this is something that my ADHD brain took a long time to get round, but now it understands it. It's that if the me of today is better than the me of yesterday or last week or last month or last year or 10 years ago, then I'm winning. And all it's about is about continuous small iterations and improvements and getting things better, not necessarily right, but getting them wrong less. And in
yeah.
doing that, then I'm improving, and in improving, then I'm winning that race against myself. And that's one of the things that I do is I help those people take another couple of kind of jogging steps on that race against their old self.
I
Um,
I love that. So I mean, one of my mottos in life is that every single day I do one thing to push myself forward. And that could be just, learning something or, reading something or having somebody interesting like yourself on my podcast where I learn something new. And I didn't realize that color had that much impact. But now I'm thinking about it. Now I'm thinking like, as somebody who has got ADHD, and a lot of our listeners also do, because they're in my world and we attract
Yep,
like, doesn't it really?
absolutely.
So, and actually thinking about how much dopamine I get from color, the whole reason why the Mad About Money logo is rainbow is because I had so many ideas for what my branding should be like, and it was all really bright and really bold and like stuff that made me feel really happy and really positive, and I couldn't narrow it down. I
Hmm.
was just like, I need all of these colors in my life. I need all of this like brightness. And then I thought, I love rainbows. I'm a massive lover of rainbows. I'm the sort of person that if I see a rainbow, I pull over the side of the road and take a selfie with it. I'm that
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, yeah.
but but it is really interesting how much color and dopamine go together.
Yeah, it's it comes down to kind of like, like lizard brain, where bright things tasty, um not bright things not so tasty, things that were off, or things that are, and it comes down to that, red traditionally has meant danger. Green means spring's coming, so when spring's coming, then the land is more fertile, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah,
so it has this really kind of like lizard brain impact on us, that it just hasn't gone anywhere. And now, and what you tend to find as well is that so many brands and businesses and corporate entities and everyone really kind of takes advantage of that and uses that. When I watch adverts, when I look at things in magazines, when I see people speaking, the first thing I think about, just because it's my thing, is how have they used color. How have they used color to put that message across. And it's even down to like Coca-Cola changing St. Nicholas's colors from green to red,
yeah,
because red was, one, their corporate color, but two, when color TV started, red showed better than green did. So they changed, the St. Nicholas color from green, which didn't show so well on color TV, to
yeah,
red, which showed better on color TV. Whereas previously Santa used to wear green, and now it's had such a massive impact on us culturally that that Santa now wears red, and if you see Santa in green, you kind of go, what's that all about? Or even things like pink and blue for boys and girls.
yeah,
Pink and blue for boys and girls, up until the 1940s and 50s, there was no such thing as those kind of masculine and feminine connotations to those two colors. It was in the
yeah,
1950s when the American kind of like white goods companies, like Hoover and Electrolux and all those companies, decided they wanted to sell more fridges and the new modern washing machines. So they started making them pink, and and that then became, to go with the brightly colored kitchens, and that then became a more feminine color because it was the color of all these appliances. So
mm,
so there's some really interesting kind of things about color and how it works. And as I say, it's one building block of getting your style right and making your style yourself and look and feel your best, but it's such a fundamental building block that's
yeah.
often overlooked, because there's this myth that black is the color that everyone should wear, which it absolutely isn't. It's my
I
mission to
think it's
stop people wearing black.
well, it's mainly because people think that black is slimming, right? And actually, but color can be just as slimming depending on
So
your body's shape and size.
most dark colors are slimming. That's the whole point. The whole point is that most dark colors are slimming, because dark colors absorb light, and it tricks the eye into thinking that it's looking at less. But then you see people who wear black because they think it's slimming, but they wear like a really shiny fabric, and the really shiny fabric shows up every lump and bump and crease and
Mm,
groove. And so it's like all of those things, isn't it? It's basically I could spend an hour and a half talking about the reasons why people think black is slimming versus the reality, but the whole point is that it's one of those things that it started off being one thing, and then through Chinese whispers and people misunderstanding or getting it wrong, then it's turned into this whole other thing. It's like lots of people think that black and white are kind of neutral, they're basics, because in print black and white are neutral, but and when it comes to clothing, they're not, because we're not black or white, we're a kind of either a
yeah,
pink or a brown, or so for those reasons, depending on how pink or how brown we are, or what shade of those colors we are, then the neutrals are very different. You know, honestly, it's one of those things that I get so passionate about color in particular.
You're making me be
But
passionate, even
sorry.
more passionate about color. I mean, I think it's amazing. So I'm guessing that also this would be a reason why people who make clothes and people who make, anything have multiple colors of that one thing, because of the fact that it's going to resonate with different people, which means they're going to make more sales,
Yeah,
but it's also going to
absolutely.
impact the person's buying journey, because if they see that their color is there and they know what they gravitate towards, they're more likely to buy a certain product.
Yeah, so people
Mm.
instinctively gravitate towards colors. They don't understand why they do, but they do. People will always go, "Oh, I love that color," and and you can get 10 people in a room, and you can go, "Who likes peach?" And you'll get 2 people that go, "Oh my god, it's the best color I've ever worn in my life," and then you get like half a dozen that'll go, "Oh no, I could never wear it." So, but what you tend to find is that the colors that are those staple colors, which are blacks and grays and whites and navies and kind of like natural colors, ecru's and stuff, those safe bets are the ones that you will find the majority of products are made in. And the reason being is it's designed to stop kind of choice paralysis.
Yeah,
We have what I like to call, and particularly for the younger generation, the kids in their kind of early 20s into just under 30, we have what I like to call the new corporate uniform. And the new corporate uniform is black joggers, black trainers, black socks, black top, black hoodie, black body bag. Maybe sometimes we'll mix up a little bit of grey, who knows? But it's mainly blacks and greys. And the reason being is that because that generation struggle much more with choice paralysis than the slightly older generations like mine. The people who make the products have decided for them that they'll make everything black and grey, and then that way that stops choice paralysis. So it's
yeah.
so that's because it's perceived that that younger generation is slightly less decisive than their older generations. Therefore, that decision has been made for them that everything's black and grey.
It's so interesting, and now you've got me thinking, like, iPhones were always like black or white, and now they're like black and white and red and pink and gold and rose gold and whatever, and there's like so many to choose from, and I'm like, ooh,
Rose
but
gold.
but I put a cover on mine. I
Yeah.
struggled, and like, I mean, it doesn't really matter what color the phone
I've
is, but
got
I'd
like
still,
clear cover, rose gold with a clear cover. Um,
yeah. It's absolutely mind-blowing how our buying power is affected by that.
yeah.
But right, let's move on, because we don't
Sorry.
have a massive amount of time. Let's move on to your story. So
Okay.
how come you ended up in this profession?
So I'm a graphic designer by training.
Okay.
I moved away from that, and then when I met my wife, she's now 17 years ago, we decided that we would kind of pull our combined experiences. Hers family experience was working in the kind of clothing industry. Mine's was working as a graphic designer, and we started our branding and uniform company, which we
Ah,
ran for 15 years or 14 years. And I've always loved color and pattern. I have always been absolutely obsessed with color and pattern. And as a designer, as a graphic designer, I spent a lot of my time using that color and pattern to help people do things like logos or rebrands or branding.
yeah.
And as I was kind of going through that journey within design, I started doing like personal rebrands for people. Small businesses or one-man businesses or personalities or speakers were coming to me kind of going, I need a logo, I need to pick some colors, and I started doing personal brands. And I really, really enjoyed doing that personal brand aspect of things, and realized that the power of color on those individuals, those people, was much more powerful than it was in a corporate perspective. And I've always
Mm,
enjoyed fashion, and I've always enjoyed style. As a young man, I used to kind of like love shopping. I you used to watch the clothes show on a Sunday evening
oh,
and
I
be
used to
totally
love the
obsessed
clothes
with it.
show.
Back in the olden days when, like, the world was black and white.
Yeah, I
So
mean, like, oh,
and
brings back the clothes show brings back loads of memories for me. Like, I actually went
And
a couple of times to the
I,
clothes
I
show,
went
and
to
it
Close
was
Show
like
Live a couple of times as well, yeah.
so fun.
And funnily enough, my wife Carla worked backstage at the Close Show back in the day as well, and didn't even, obviously we didn't know until a couple of years ago when we were talking about it. And 2018, 2019, I lost a load of weight. I lost about 9.5 stone.
Oh wow.
And I kind of reignited my love for all things clothing and style and fashion in a way that hadn't been there for a long time. Because when
Mm.
you were the size that I was, you just kind of wore what fit. Along with that came this kind of reignitement of passion and joy about clothing. And then when the pandemic hit, a lot of our clients decided that they didn't need any branding done. They didn't need any flyers or any corporate uniform because they were closing down for a period of time. And with that came some time. And in
Mm.
that time, I then took the opportunity to kind of retrain as a personal stylist, and then further retrain as an advanced colour practitioner, and then made the decision that the thing that I wanted to do was to work solely, rather than a kind of personal branding thing, was to actually work as a stylist and to help people just look and feel their best, to kind of I suppose to kind of like sharpen it down to like the finest point of what I actually wanted to do,
Yeah.
which was to kind of help people on that journey to kind of look and feel their absolute best selves. We also at the same kind of time opened a menswear brand, which is now kind of moving into women's wear and women's accessories as well, called Tasker and Shaw. And I run a subscription business for luxury silk ties for men as well, which is, again, it's all about introducing color and pattern into men's lives,
Yeah.
in a way that it's about taking the bland and the boring and just injecting just a little color and a little pattern and just making it a little bit more interesting and exciting for everybody you come across. If you have a great tie on, everybody you meet will think that's a great tie, and that just brings a little bit of something to their day as well as yours.
I absolutely love that. I think it's so nice, and like I can tell that you would be just someone who's really fun to work with as well.
I have my
I love it.
moments. I'm known as the straight talking stylist, because whilst, like I say, I am absolutely there for my clients. You know how the thing that you get on TV where you get like the stylist on TV stands there and goes, no, you mustn't wear that, and yes, you have to wear that, and that's not really how it works. My job is as a conduit to help my clients look and feel their best. So it's
Yeah.
not about me and not about me telling them what to do or what not to do. It's about empowering them to find the best things for themselves. However, there are instances where, yeah, I do get a bit sweary, or or
Yes, you do
I'm
look fucking fat in that.
no, certainly not. No. But like fat's not a word I'm scared of, and I don't think anyone should be scared of it. As a guy who's still quite fat myself, it's
But
not a word I'm
also
scared of.
we're not fat though. We have fat, but we're
Yeah.
not. You know,
So
we're not. You know, you wouldn't. Yeah.
Absolutely, but I think what you've got to be really careful of in the styling industry is that there's a lot of people who just go, "Oh yeah, you look great and everything." And I think part of what we have to do, what of my responsibility, is to help people look the best version of themselves, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
steering them to
I
other
mean,
things. So not telling them they can't wear something or they should wear something, but explaining to them and showing them how
what looks
great they can
best?
look in some things.
Yeah.
And the moment that you see that, the moment you see that's the best color, that's the best shape, that's the best cut, why would you go back to something else?
No,
When you can
yeah,
see
I
those things.
totally get that. And I 100% when I get my opportunity to go on that red sofa, because it is going to happen at some point. Like, it is my dream to go on this morning and to go on that red sofa. You can be my stylist, and you will, yes, you can make me look and feel amazing. It's
We
like
will do that.
that's do you know what I said to my husband the other day? I said maybe it's not meant to happen yet because I don't feel confident enough. So maybe I just need a bit of a kick to feel confident
Yeah,
enough, and then actually I'll
it's
be like, do you know what? Yes, I can go there. I can be that person. So yeah, exciting. So let's talk a little bit about vintage,
okay.
because we love vintage, right? I think so many. It's massively out there at the moment, and people.
It's blown up. I started using Vinted a couple of years back, and it has absolutely blown up
Mm,
since then. And I think the reason for that is that there's a couple of reasons for it. I think the first thing is that the kind of the public discussion around reusing, recycling, and repurposing things has
Yeah.
absolutely changed from people being preached to about it to people understanding that it absolutely has a place, and that it's something that if we're going to continue to live in the planet that we live on, that we have to make these decisions about making less stuff. There's one side of fashion, which is this kind of fast fashion, pumping out stuff at a rate of knots, sending it over from the Far East by the boatload, like the shipload, and my thought on this is that if you can source, produce, make, ship, sell a t-shirt for £3 and then make enough profit on that to have a huge high street store, then somebody somewhere is losing out on that.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that and I don't know who that is, but it's somebody or something.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, that I think that the time and the place for fast fashion, it does have one. There's nothing wrong with, like, having a couple of £3 t-shirts. That's perfect. But I think if we buy better, then by buying better, it lasts longer. If it lasts longer, then it's more sustainable.
Yeah. I mean, there's
And part of that is very much vintage, where you can have an item that you have owned for a year, 2 years, 3 years, that you have worn, that you have enjoyed wearing, and that you can then move on and sell to someone else. And then they have their journey with that item, and then that takes the cost per wear. So the big conversation around vintage is around cost per wear, which
yeah.
if your listeners aren't familiar with cost per wear, it's the perception that the value of something isn't just what it costs, it's about how much it costs every single time you wear it. So a great example of that is if you buy a really cheap pair of shoes, right, and you wear them, they cost you £20 and you wear them 10 times and they start letting in water and the sole starts falling off them and all that kind of stuff. It's cost you £2 per wear. If you buy a pair of shoes that cost you £100 and you wear them every single day for a year, then that has cost a fraction of that in cost per wear.
Yeah.
So upfront it's cost more money, but the actual cost per wear on that item is minuscule in comparison. And I think that's the conversation that brands like Vinted and peer-to-peer groups like Vinted are really good with, because you get an item that you can buy that doesn't cost a lot to buy because someone's already had their wear from it, and then you get the opportunity to buy a quality item which will last more time again. And then there's an opportunity sometimes at the end of wearing it to sell it on again. I'm a great fan of, so a great example is that not so long ago I bought a jacket for Vinted for a specific reason. I bought like a kind of velvet kind of dinner jacket that I was wearing to one single event. I wore it to that event and then I sold it on Vinted again. I actually sold it on Vinted for a profit. So I actually had the reverse cost per wear. I had a profit per wear of it. So which is rare. It's not like, it's not a common thing, but I think vintage fantastic for helping us take that opportunity to, rather than kind of making the fast fashion decision, to kind of find things within that price realm which are better quality. Normally, well, you look for better quality and then have the impact, the opportunity to kind of have less impact in the environment and also less impact on your wallet, because rather than that £3 t-shirt that you'll wash twice and it will go all baggy and out of shape, you've bought something that's a bit more expensive, however it will last longer and do better. And I think the stigma around secondhand and pre-owned and pre-loved and used is completely gone now.
And I'm so glad. Like, I mean, my favorite thing to do is go charity shopping for my dopamine. And I go and I specifically look for things that are designer, and then I'll go and sell them on Vinted. And last year I made about £1,000 from that.
Don't tell Vinted.
Well, the thing is, they don't care. It's more the accountants that you've got to wait. It's more HMRC, because people don't realise that actually that is a business and you are that is a business
Yeah.
expense.
Well,
So
the
it's,
thing about Vinted is that Vinted, I suppose, if you're doing it as an individual, just as a person, Vinted is really, really strong in the fact that they're peer to peer. And I suppose if it's secondhand product you're buying, what they're really against is people buying a load of brand new stuff.
oh
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
selling it. And I think that's where it differs from somewhere like eBay, where eBay now is so corporate. And like, recently they did a kind of survey, and about 90% of the stuff that's for sale on eBay is new from a corporate entity. Whereas when you think back to the 90s when it started and it was Beanie Babies, when you think that progression and that journey, it's now, it's now more akin to Amazon than it is to what it was.
yeah,
And I think the very fact that we've now got a resource like Vinted where it is focused on clothing and accessories. There is
yeah,
some homeware and things on there as well, but it's predominantly focused on clothing and accessories. And it's also majoritively, or it should be, a peer-to-peer, consumer-to-consumer, where you're
yeah.
buying from a person. And obviously that has its drawbacks as well as its positives. So the thing about buying from consumers, and the one thing I tell my clients is that your satisfactory might be someone else's very good, and vice
Well,
versa.
absolutely, and people are struggling at the moment. So,
Yeah,
I mean, I always have the thing. It's like buy cheap, buy twice.
yeah,
I haven't shopped at Primark for about 15 years, I don't think, just because it's, sorry to anyone who likes it, but it's cheap and it's nasty. And like I buy probably 90% of my clothes from either from Vinted or from Sainsbury's. Like I've had this jumper for like 4 years, maybe. These t-shirts, I own them in every single color that they made
yeah,
them in. I've had them for a really long time. I wear the same clothes. I mean, I'm a bit of a creature of habit. I wear things that are very bright, but things that I feel
yeah.
comfortable in. But they're all like they're nice quality, and I find like Sainsbury's clothing is really affordable anyway.
Yeah,
But it
stuff's really good.
lasts. It lasts for a really long time.
The one
I've
thing I would say in Primark's defense is they've genuinely upped their game in the last probably year to 18 months. The quality is absolutely improved. The price point
okay,
is increased. The price point is increased. They're not as cheap as chips the way they were.
yeah,
Um, but I think they've had to, because I think the practices that allowed that, £1.50 t-shirt aren't still there. Um, you know, I,
questionable.
I did a really interesting thing quite recently, which was I went round and looked at all the kind of Christmas offerings of all the stores for female clients. And I think out of it, the biggest loser in my head was Marks and Spencer's, which was
Oh,
an absolute nightmare. Genuinely, from everything. And I only went to one store, and its defense, I went to the new cat. Do you know what? I'm not going to say what store I went to. I went to one store, and the visual merchandising was just meh, and the quality and just the feeling, not so much the physical feel, but just the kind of
mm,
vibe behind the product just wasn't there. And the one that really, really surprised me and shocked me was Tesco, Florence and Fred at Tesco, who absolutely smashed Christmas this year. The sequins and the velvets and all that stuff was
yeah,
absolutely on point, but it was also incredibly good quality and brilliant value.
yeah,
And I think that's that amazes me, because when I was a kid, Marks and Spencer's was the place that you would go for your party wear. It was the place that that was the one time a year Marks and Spencer's got all the women going in, because it was like sequin dresses and velvets and satins and all the kind of Christmassy gowns and stuff. I suppose John Lewis as well, but again, they kind of lost away a little bit. But that's there's a lot of stuff going in there with management and the CEO and all that stuff. But
yeah,
I think this year, Florence and Fred at Tesco absolutely have smashed that kind of
yeah.
that
It's a great
Christmas thing.
brand. Really great brand.
Um,
So let's talk a little bit about your tips. What would be your best tips for vintage?
okay, so we have we'll do my top 3 tips, because I know I've
Yeah,
gone on like millions, right? Okay, so the first tip I would give is set up your profile properly. Take the time to set a profile. Now, I know it's dull. No one likes doing it, right? Okay. Everyone just goes, yeah, just put anything in. But set up your profile properly. With that, what I mean is that when you set up your profile in Vinted, you have an opportunity to select your sizes. You have an opportunity to select brands that you like. You have the opportunity to select, clothing types that you like. And by doing that, then Vinted then does the work for you. It then starts to serve you products that are in your size, that are in your favorite brands. And basically, if you go in and you type in, I want a jacket, then what it will then do is it will then show you jackets that are in your size, and it will then serve jackets that are in the brands you like. And all you have to do to let their algorithm do all of that work for you is literally just set up your profile properly. So take the 3 minutes.
Makes sense.
Please take the 3 minutes just to set your profile up properly. Because although it's easy to just go and go, yeah, I'll just leave it all blank, it doesn't matter, then it just means that you're not sorting through all of that stuff that isn't for you. And there's nothing worse than finding something you absolutely love and you go, oh my God, it's the best thing ever, and it's not in your size.
Not the right size. I do that all the time. And then then it ruins my dopamine because I'm like,
and again,
oh my God,
because you're not dealing with corporates, because you're dealing with individual products from individual people, you can't necessarily find it in your size or in your color or whatever. So that would be my number one tip is set up your profile properly. Also for selling, setting up your profile properly is really important, because once your profile set up properly, then it ticks all those boxes with Vinted, which means when you want to go to sell, then you've got the opportunity to sell much more easily. I'm going to stick another little half selling tip in there, which is at the moment, they've got a really good offer on, which is that if you sell your first item, if you've never sold before, they won't charge you for shipping it. So that's just a thing. I got an email about it quite recently, and it's just trying to encourage people who come on the platform and buy to start selling. So if you've got a Vinted profile already and you're thinking about buying something, now is the time to sell, because your first item, there's no fee or charge for it, right?
Interesting. Okay. So how does the shipping bit work? Because I think one of the things that puts me off, and I normally go to Facebook Marketplace to sell stuff, because the times where I have sold things on Vinted, I've always found it a little bit like I actually have to go and do something, but they've got a service where they come and pick it up now, don't they?
So yeah, so have you not found it? Do you not find selling on Facebook Marketplace just incredibly frustrating with all the tire kickers?
Oh, yeah, it is very annoying actually.
I love Facebook for so many aspects of my life, right? I'm 48. I just turned 48 last week. So I am absolutely in Facebook's demographic of people, right? I am their like alma mater, right? However, Facebook Marketplace, while I'll buy stuff from Facebook Marketplace, I would never sell on Facebook Marketplace, because anything I've ever tried to sell on Facebook Marketplace has been the most infuriating experience of my life. The thing about selling on Vinted is that they do the really difficult bits for you. So they do the working out what the postage is going to be. They do the working out how to get it to the person. They do all of that stuff. Literally, when I sell on Vinted, I use, the lockers, the in-post lockers. There are 2 lots equidistant, about half a mile away from me, either direction. And literally, most of the time, I don't even have to put a label on the thing. I literally just have to pack the thing up in a bag. And because it goes to an in-post locker, I just need to put it on the locker, and they do the rest for me. So for me, cool. I consider it to be so much less of a faff than selling on something like eBay, where you've got to calculate the postage you want. You've then got to work out how to send it, and you've got to work out what the best way to send it for that person is. It works out from the buyer's location and address, the best type of postage to use, whether it be Hermes, whether it be, that's terrible, isn't it? Sorry, Hermes, because I'm used to saying Hermes. In my brain, when I see the word in my brain, it comes out as Hermes rather than Hermes. It's every now, isn't it? Anyway, so whether that be Every or whether it be Royal Mail, literally it just tells you, take the item here, and it might be your local post office. You might have to print a label, but oftentimes you don't have to print a label, and it can go to an in-post locker. I think the process is the least clunky of all of the sales channels. The other benefit from a buyer's perspective is that, unlike other sales channels where you're sending that money pretty much directly to the seller, with Vinted, they keep the payment until you receive the item and you're happy with the item.
And that's really helpful from scam protection perspective.
So that's so it is and it isn't. From a buyer's perspective, that would be my third top tip for a buyer, would be when you get your item, before you hit the, yeah, I've got it and I'm happy with it, check it. Make sure that you are happy with it. Make sure it is the condition it says it is the size it says it is, that it fits, that everything's fine before you hit, yep, I'm happy. Because the moment you say you're happy, the payment's released, and that's you're done. You don't have any more opportunity to kind of do anything. You can't get a refund, you can't get your money back. It's not buying from a company, it's buying from a person. But up until that point, then you have an opportunity to contact the seller. You have an opportunity to contact Vinted directly. Now, I would always suggest contacting the seller directly first, just because that's what I'm like as a person. I would rather say, rather than kind of like registering a complaint, or, you know, it was the wrong size, or they said it was this is what I was saying, that your satisfactory might be someone else's very good. So, you know, if they register it as very good and you get it and you go, this isn't very good condition. Very good condition for me would be, you know, XYZ, then have a communication with that seller first. So that would be my tip. But also the fact that that money is held then does prevent quite a lot of misdescriptions and mis-selling, because people know that if they say it's one thing and it arrives and it's something else, then you're not going to get the money released to them.
No.
From a seller's perspective, there are a number of scams. You know, there are people that, you know, they'll get an item and they'll say that they've got it and it wasn't as described, or they'll get it and they'll say that, you know, the package arrived and it was empty, or it was this or it was that. But this is just the beauty and the drawbacks of selling online. You know, there's always, I have been using Vinted for just over 2 years or 2.5 years now. I would consider myself to be maybe not an expert, but certainly a very experienced user of Vinted, to the point where actually in the process of writing a guide to Vinted at the moment, myself and my wife. And I have never once had anyone scam me.
No, I haven't either, to be fair.
Whereas on eBay, it's, to my perspective, I've had it happen to me a few times. So I would say that it certainly keeps. Also, if you're looking at buying more expensive items, like designer items, you know, in the kind of hundreds or into the thousands, or in some instances for things like handbags into the tens of thousands, Vinted has now brought in this amazing new verification service, where the items are sent from the seller to Vinted, who then verify the item is exactly what it says it is, and then send it on to you. And as a buyer, that doesn't cost you anything. It costs the seller, I think.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. So as a buyer, it doesn't cost you, it costs the seller. And basically, what it means is, it means that that item, that high value item, is almost guaranteed to be fraud free.
Excellent.
So that's a great thing. And my
Well,
last tip would be set pricing that you're happy with when you sell items. So Vinted will try and guide you towards pricing for your items, and it will always underprice, in my opinion, because it wants a fast sale. It doesn't care about how happy you are with the price you get or how much you get for it. It just wants those items moving through its system. So it will always lead you towards the lowest common denominator, the lowest price. So if you've got an item that you want to sell and you know how much you want to sell it for, just sell your own ship, right?
Yeah.
Because if a potential buyer wants to get a deal on it, then they'll contact you and they'll ask for a deal on it, or they'll make you an offer, which is a thing that's unvented as well. However, the flip side of that, and the thing you have to be aware of, is that to the person that's buying that item, all the emotional attachment that you have to that item, they don't have. They're looking at it purely as an item of clothing, the same way you would in a shop. So a great example of that is that you buy, you have your wedding dress, right? So your wedding dress cost you £1,000 when you get married X amount of years ago, right? And you wore it, and it was your wedding, and it was the best day of your life, and it was fantastic, and you absolutely loved it. And when you put it on sale, you're like, well, that dress is worth £1,000. That dress cost me £1,000 when I bought it, and it was the best day of my life, and it was amazing, and I got married in it, and we had the car and the horses and confetti and bouquets and all that, right? So I want to sell it for £1,000. The thing is, to the person who's buying it, what they're buying is a pre-loved, pre-owned second-hand wedding dress. Doesn't have any of that emotional context. They didn't get to go to the boutique and try it on. They didn't get to stand in front of the mirror and have the woman with the black dress and the, you know, and the tied back type bun tell her how amazing she looked in it. They don't get any of that. They get a pre-loved wedding dress.
Just, yeah.
So to them, that £1,000 dress isn't a £1,000 dress. So you have to just take that into account. So whilst you've got to set your own prices, you have to be realistic. You have to think, what would I pay for it? As a buyer on Vinted, when I sell on Vinted, I always think, if I saw that item come up and I was going to buy it, what would I pay for it? And then that's the market that I would go at. So those would be my 3 top tips. So the first one is set up your profile properly. Please set up your profile properly. The second one is, I actually missed the second one, which is look for multiple items with the same seller.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So that's a great way to save postage. What you know is that person probably will be selling things that are in your size.
Yes,
right?
yes,
So
yeah, very true.
If you're selling one thing that's in your size, there's a good chance that you're selling other things that are in your size as well, whether it be shoe sizes or dress sizes or whatever. With Vinted, the way it works is that if you buy an item, then you charge the postage. If you buy multiple items from the same seller, then you charge the same postage.
Same postage, yeah, that makes so much
by
sense.
buying those multiple items, you're absolutely saving the postage and the administration fees on those items. So that would be my second top tip, would be look for other items from the same seller as the item that you want to buy. Sometimes you'll find, also, a lot of time people have the same taste. So, if you're buying a top from someone because you absolutely love it, well, they bought it, so they obviously absolutely loved it. And there's a really good chance that the other things that they absolutely love are things that you'll absolutely love as well.
No, I
so
like
have a look at it. So those multiple item purchases are a great way of saving postage and packaging, which if you're buying smaller, cheaper items, are quite a substantial fraction of the overall cost. So that would be that tip. And the third one is set your own pricing when you're selling. Don't go by vintage pricing. So there you go. That'd be my 3 top tips.
Amazing tips. Really great. So, James, where can people find you?
So I am on all of your socials. So pick our socials and I'm on it. And it would be at James Hutchison Style. So it's Hutchison without an N in the middle. So it's HUTCHISON, James Hutchison Style. And I'm online at jameshutchisonstyle.com.
Amazing. This has been such an eye-opening episode. Like, I learned so much more about colour and Vinted than I ever thought I could. So it's been amazing having you on, and I expect we'll probably need to get you back on again at some point, because
I would love that. And if any of your listeners of yours have got any if any of your listeners of yours have got any questions about colour or about style or about how to just kind of elevate those things, then I'm really happy for them to get in touch with me or to get in touch with you, and we can do a Q&A or something, whatever.
You should come and hang out in Mad About Money app, I think. I think it would be a good place for you. There's lots of people who like money saving, lots of people who like clothing tips. I think, it's if you're not on all social media platforms until you're on Mad About Money as well. So for anybody who hasn't downloaded it, it's free to download in the app stores. It will help you to save money on your everyday living expenses. It will help you to save money on your clothes if you're buying lots of clothes. And also it's a really nice place to hang out. So go and do that. If anybody wants to know where I am, generally in the app is where I hang out, or LinkedIn, Maddy Alexander-Grout. But we will see you next time. Thanks for watching.